Hello everyone, this is continuation of topic 9, nervous system of the human anatomy lectures. This is the last lecture on nervous system. We're going to learn about the 12 pairs of cranial nerves. In this lecture, these cranial nerves, they emerge out from the ventrolateral surface of the brain and they are given numbers beginning at the anterior part of the brain. So they are numbered as CN1, CN stands for cranial nerve, and these are in Roman numerals through CN12. This figure shows the inferior view of the brain and the roots of the cranial nerves are visible in this figure. This is a diagrammatic inferior view of the human brain. Out of the 12 pairs of cranial nerves, only one pair, which is the vagus nerves, extends to the thoracic and abdominal region. The rest 11 mostly serve the head and the neck. These 12 nerves, out of these 12 nerves, there are 5 that are motor, 4 are mixed, and 3 are sensory in function. And the cranial nerves are provided two names. First is a sequential Roman numeral, which is in order of its attachment to brain, for example, CN1 or CN3 or CN4. And the second one is a name which describes the nerve's location or function, for example, oculomotor nerve or optic nerve. This slide and the next one show all the 12 pairs of cranial nerves, and I have written them in a color-coded manner. Whatever is written in blue is a sensory nerve, the one in maroon is a motor nerve, while the one in pink is a mixed nerve. So CN1 is olfactory nerve. This is sensory in function, it's sensory for smell. CN2 is optic nerve, sensory for vision. CN3 is motor nerve, is oculomotor nerve, and these are motor fibers to eye muscles. CN4 is trochlear, again motor, which is motor fiber to one eye muscle. CN5 is trigeminal nerve. This is sensory for face and motor to the chewing muscles. CN6 is abducens nerve, which is again motor fibers to the eye muscles. CN7 is facial nerve. It is sensory for taste and motor to the face. CN8 is vestibulocochlear, or in previous days it was known as the auditory nerve. This is sensory for balance and hearing. CN9 is glossopharyngeal nerve, which is again a mixed nerve. It's sensory for taste and motor fibers to the pharynx. CN10 is vagus nerve, sensory and motor fibers for pharynx, larynx, and some visceral organs. CN11 is accessory nerve. This is motor fibers to the neck and upper back, while CN12 is hypoglossal nerve. This is motor fibers to the tongue. I have provided a mnemonic on the left side and a drawing on the right side to be used as memory devices for the 12 pairs of cranial nerves. The mnemonic goes, oh, once one takes the anatomy final, very good vacations are heavenly. So try saying all those 12 pairs of nerves, use the first letter of each word and it will give you a hint of the name of the cranial nerve. And if you look at the drawing on the right side, in this drawing all 12 cranial nerves are represented. Some may be a little difficult to find. For example, the shoulders, you can see number 11 there. That's because cranial nerve 11 controls neck and shoulder movement. The sides of the face and the top of the head, they are formed by the number 7. The eyes are made by number 2. The nose is number 1. So I hope this will help you to memorize all the 12 pairs of cranial nerves. The next few slides are going to provide detailed information on each pair of cranial nerves. This slide, we are going to start with the olfactory nerve, which is cranial nerve 1. The function of this nerve is sensory for smell. It starts, that means its origin is in the olfactory epithelium inside the nose, and its destination is olfactory bulbs in the brain. So this shows the olfactory nerve. Cranial nerve 2 is optic nerve. Function, it's sensory for vision. Origin, it starts in the retina of the eye and destination is diencephalon, and then it goes on to the occipital lobe. And the figure shows the optic nerve. So in the same way as we did the previous two slides, you're going to learn about all these 12 pairs of nerves from these slides, and you're going to read their function, the origin, and the destination. And we will discuss more of this when we meet face to face during the lab class. Moving on to spinal nerves. These nerves come out from the spinal cord. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves, one pair each coming out from every vertebra. And the spinal nerves are formed when the ventral and the dorsal roots combine. The spinal nerves are named after the region from which they arise. There are 8 cervical spinal nerves. Cervical nerves C1 through C7, they usually come out above their corresponding vertebrae, while the cervical nerve 8 emerges from the C7 vertebra or below the C7 vertebra. The rest of the nerves, they emerge below the vertebra with the same name. So the 31 pairs of spinal nerves include 8 cervical nerves, 12 thoracic nerves, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral and 1 coccygeal. This figure shows the various spinal nerves coming out from the different regions. Anatomy of the spinal nerves. Each spinal nerve, after emerging, it splits into 3 branches. These branches are known as rami. Singular is ramus. The first branch is the dorsal or the posterior ramus, which serves the skin and the structures on the posterior trunk or posterior side of the body. The second ramus is the ventral or the anterior ramus, which forms a network of nerves for the anterior structures. And the third branch is the meningeal ramus, which re-enters the vertebral canal and it innervates the spinal structures. In addition to the 3 rami mentioned in the previous slide, spinal nerves T1 through L2 have 2 additional branches. These are known as the white and the gray rami. And the white and the gray rami together are called the rami communicantes. Spinal nerve plexuses. Plexuses means networks of nerves. The ventral rami of the spinal nerves in cervical, lumbar and sacral regions form 4 networks or 4 plexuses. These are cervical, brachial, lumbar and sacral plexuses. Sometimes the lumbar and the sacral plexuses are combined to form the lumbosacral plexus. Notice that there is no thoracic or coccygeal plexus. In the thoracic region, the ventral rami, they travel anteriorly as 11 separate pairs of intercostal nerves and they innervate the intercostal muscles, the abdominal muscles and the skin of the chest and the abdomen. Look at the right side of the figure and it shows you all the different plexuses. This table differentiates between somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. The effector organ for somatic nervous system is something voluntary such as skeletal muscle, while for autonomic nervous system it is involuntary such as smooth muscle, cardiac muscle or glands. The somatic nervous system does not have any subdivisions, while the autonomic nervous system is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic subdivisions. The neurotransmitter in somatic nervous system is acetylcholine, while that in the autonomic nervous system is acetylcholine and epinephrine or norepinephrine. The nerves in the somatic nervous system includes only 1 neuron, while in the autonomic nervous system it is 2 neurons. So the autonomic nervous system, which is also known as the involuntary nervous system, it has 2 subdivisions, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Remember the sympathetic nervous system as the E division for exercise, excitement, emergency and embarrassment. So this nervous system, it elicits a response to unusual stimulus and mobilizes a fight or flight response. This usually takes over to increase activities such as it causes pupil dilation, it increases the heart rate and also relaxes the urinary bladder. Remember the parasympathetic nervous system as the D division. D stands for digestion, defecation and diuresis. The effects are opposite to the sympathetic nervous system. It causes pupil constriction, decreases the heart rate and tenses the urinary bladder. It usually controls housekeeping activities or the rest and digest response. That means it is controlling the body's response while at rest.